Hello and welcome to the Dallas Aftershow. I am James Lott Jr., your host here on JLJ Media. While you're here, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening, subscribe to the podcast and get future episodes. We do these every Friday. I'm just checking my hair, and it's not, oh, it's gray hair. I thought something in my hair. It's gray hair. So you saw the title, and I want to thank everybody who's been listening to these shows and watching them. Thank you so much. All the Dallas groups, Facebook, hello. I love you guys. Thank you. We're a great big community of lovers of Dallas, and it's amazing. I'm glad to be part of that community. As you tell, the title of this episode is The Moment I Realized the Brilliance of Patrick Duffy's acting and the character of Bobby. So I'll get to that. I'm actually going to share a scene with you. There's two scenes I'm going to share with you that really completely got to me. And they realize that. But let me give you a little, what I've noticed as I start looking back on the older episodes. Robert James Ewing, Bobby, youngest son of Miss Ellie and Jock. It was known that he was kind of the playboy. He was spoiled by Jock. He was Jock's favorite. Not JR, not Miss Ellie. He was Jock's favorite. Side note, Gary was the favorite of Miss Ellie. So JR, of course, it fueled him and makes sense of who JR is, why he was upset. But Bobby was a favorite, and Jock admitted to spoiling him. I was kind of proud of it. Bobby really was an essential character to the show. When I started looking back, I watched it all in the original. When it first came out, I saw it was there. I watched every episode when it came out, every Friday night at 9 p.m. But when I started going back and rewatching episodes, I was like, wow, the character of Bobby was so instrumental and so important to the character of JR, to the character of Miss Ellie. So many of the characters, minus the Pams and the Jennas and all that, and Aprils and all that. In terms of the family, and even Bobby crossed over to Knots Landing too in some episodes there too to help Gary and Val out. But he was such an instrumental part of even their storylines. And JR, Larry Hagman, obviously was the more showy one, the one that had the most attention of Dallas, right? A lot of attention. Patrick Duffy's acting really was so natural as the good guy to JR's bad guy. And I put it in quotes because JR was bad, but he had some limits. He wouldn't do things. He was a villain, but he was driven by the thing about Bobby and JR, they would do things to each other, they would stand up against each other, but when someone else on the outside was against them, they never forgot they were brothers. It's kind of a whole thing like, I can talk crap about you, but you can't talk about my brother thing. It sometimes makes no sense, but it does make sense, right? It's family, right? My shoe's coming off, sorry. I was how to film these. And there were many times they would really get it. They even had fist fights. They would totally get into it. But Bobby had to be, it was almost Cain and Abel. He had to be the good brother who had morality and lines he wouldn't cross. Even though Bobby did try a couple times over the years to do things that would be to fight JR, beat JR in his own game, and they failed, of course, because Bobby wasn't like that. It was more about JR would go go farther, Bobby wouldn't. And his acting, Patrick was acting so understated. It's he played that role so well that I never really realized the acting part until later. Like I said, getting older, watching the episodes, I was like, oh, yes, he was one of the best actors on the show. Just, we don't even, from the, like I said, from the Romeo Juliet's beginnings of him, Pam, to him dying, to him coming back, him marrying April, everything. And, it was very good. So for me, it was, people, I know you guys want to know about the reboot. And one day I'm doing an episode about the reboot, how I feel about it. People have been asking, I will tell you. But here's a little piece of something I did like. They handled JR's death beautifully. I'm going to do an episode on that too separately. When it was Bobby, There are two scenes that made me go, wait a minute. One, him and Annie. When he realizes Annie's been lying to him, keeping secrets, there's a scene, it's so subtle at first. They're getting ready for bed. And pulling off the sheets, and there's extra pillows, and they just kind of, and there's this scene. Oh my God, it's so good. I want to say this. You can go online. It's called Dallas Bobby Lashes Out at Annie. Go look at that scene. It's on YouTube. It's like 3 minutes long. It's an incredible Emmy-worthy acting from both of them, from Brenda Strong, who plays Annie, and from Patrick Duffy, who plays Bobby. I had never seen Bobby that angry before, but it's a slow build. She's like trying to comfort him and please, you can talk to me, you can trust me, using all those great words. And he's sitting down on the bed, not facing her. And you see her behind us. You can't hold everything in. And come on, Bobby, I'm here for you. And he's kind of gets up and he's like, really? And he turns around. And I remember watching it live, not expecting what I was going to hear. I thought he was going to start explaining himself and telling us. And he's like, really? And he just starts to bring out what we were feeling most of that season. That's another story. Because Annie had all this stuff come out. She had a child that was taken away, and all this stuff was going on in his chairs, this whole big trial. And I kept saying to myself, why haven't Bobby and Annie talked? Oh, it came out in that scene. He literally said all the things that a husband would say, like he says, of 7 years, that the audience was probably thinking. And he's like, really, Annie? And there's a part where he's like, all this stuff was coming out of the trial. There's this part where he goes, you wanna know how I feel? Because I'm pissed. And like he screamed, she jumped, I jumped when I watched it. I was like, Bobby was just Patrick, I don't know if that was a direction choice or an acting choice on Patrick Duffy's part, but she reacted, as a great actress, reacted to him listing all these, how tolerant he's been. Where he says, I'm pissed. And his voice just like like, oh my goodness. And he just laid it out on her. Laid it out on her. I was like, I remember watching that scene 2 or 3 times over and going, that was the scene of the scenes. It was like, wow, Bobby he was right. And Brenda Strong, great scene partner, just like took it. And that's what made me go, okay. And then later in the episode, where he's reading JR's letter, and he has JR's, whiskey, and he literally cries in his drink. You know what I mean? Like he has the drink in his hand, and he starts to cry. Literally, he's crying in his drink. That is just, it was amazing. I mean, that episode. I mean, Linda Gray. I mean, they all did amazing work. Josh Henderson. I mean, they all did amazing work. But I was looking at Bobby going, wow, because literally for us, we knew there was a friendship in real life between Larry Hagman and Patrick Duffy. But also it's like, his partner is gone. There's no JR. And he's like, who am I without you? That's the thing. It's like, if your whole life was this push and pull with with your brother, and he's taken out, what do you do with that? I was just like, but that made those 2 scenes, but the first scene did it for sure. The second scene was better. Made me start going back in time, looking at old episodes, going, Patrick Duffy, great actor. I mean, I've seen other things. He's wonderful. He, on Step by Step. He was on American Housewife recently. I mean, he's a great actor, but but I think I just never really looked at him as a strong actor until the reboots, which where you go back and look at the stuff in the original series. So there you go. So that's my take on that. I wonder if you guys agree or not. Let me know what you think, of course, as always. Comment below where you find this. Share this with anybody. Thanks to the Dallas folks. Let me share this with them too. Follow me at James Lott Jr. everywhere. Everybody, please take care, and we'll see you next Friday.